You're listening to Ireland's Aviation Podcast.
Welcome to the news episode of Squawk 7000. On this week's podcast, Aer Lingus returned to Toronto, the Airbus A220 demonstrator visits Ireland, and Dublin Aerospace celebrates its 12th birthday.
On Friday afternoon, Aer Lingus returned to Toronto with their first service to Canada's largest city in 18 months. The airline will operate 2 services this week before increasing to 4 times per week from next week, and will be operated by an Airbus A321neo. Canada has recently reopened to all vaccinated passengers subject to meeting certain COVID-19 travel restrictions. In other Aer Lingus news, cabin crew at the airline have rejected proposals for changes to work practices. It's now likely that the airline will close the current voluntary severance package being offered. The airline has stated that the layoff requirements will continue well into 2022, with no pay increases applied to cabin crew until the start of 2025 at the earliest.
Cork Airport has released a short time-lapse video of the runway works that commenced this week. The runway will remain closed for 10 weeks until the morning of the 22nd of November. The works are part of a €40 million investment that will also include upgrading the airport's approach, airfield and ground lighting, runway edge and centreline lighting, and all of its drainage and ducting systems. You can watch the video on the Flying in Ireland website. Limited helicopter traffic will continue at Cork for the duration of the works, including the NHV AW139, Irish Air Corps and Irish Community Air Ambulance.
Finn Valley Flying Club in Donegal hosted a very successful fly-in last Saturday, the 11th of September. Over 25 aircraft attended the event, which was a very good turnout considering the weather forecast. There's a great selection of photos from Matthias Koziatek available to browse on the Flying in Ireland website.
Based at Western Airport, National Flight Centre will host their Teen Autumn Aviation Camp from the 26th of October to the 29th of October for 15 to 18-year-olds. The aviation camp comprises an introductory flight lesson and associated briefings from the PPL course and 2 hours in their glass cockpit simulator. Upon course completion, attendees will receive a wearable NFC Wings badge. The camp aims to provide students with hands-on experience of flying a light aircraft. The course is a taster for anyone considering a career in the aviation industry, and more details are available from the NFC website.
On Monday, Flying in Ireland was invited to fly on the Airbus A220-300 demonstrator that the aircraft manufacturer brought to Dublin on the first leg of its European sales tour. The aircraft was in the colours of Air Baltic, having been delivered new on the 29th of August. The Airbus A220 family can cater for the 100 to 150 seat market, with the A220-100 offering 100 to 120 seats, and the larger A220-300 catering for the 120 to 150 seat market. Unlike its predecessors in the single-aisle aircraft market, the Airbus A220 was a clean-sheet design. Originally built by Bombardier as the C Series, it was launched in 2012 with the first flight in 2013. Swiss became the launch customer and have taken delivery of 30 aircraft of both variants. Air Baltic placed its order in 2012 and was the first airline to take delivery of the larger variant in 2016. The demonstration flight took off from runway 28 left and routed towards Limerick, climbed to flight level 200 before returning towards Dublin and landing about 45 minutes later. The full story is available on the Flying in Ireland website.
United Airlines has confirmed its Shannon to Newark service will begin again from the 27th of March next year. The airline says that flights on the route are currently on sale and that a seasonal daily service will resume until October 2022. In other Shannon news, the first Aer Lingus flight from Shannon to London Heathrow since March 2020 took off last week. An A320 will operate the route for 10 weeks while the runway works are completed at Cork Airport.
The Coupans Air Navigation Service Providers Alliance has announced 2 new senior management appointments. Peter Carney, chairman of the Coupans Alliance Board and CEO of the IAA, announced the appointment of Dario Gurcic as general manager and Mikael Eriksson as program director. Coupans is an international partnership between the air navigation service providers of Austria, Croatia, Denmark, Ireland, Portugal and Sweden. Coupans has adopted a common managerial approach whereby the 6 ANSPs act as one organisation, together with Thales as a system supplier, focusing on common success and mutual benefits.
Jason Phelan from the IAA took to the air last week on the wing of an AeroSuperBatics Boeing Stearman, an aid of the Red Panda Network. Well, joining us now on Squawk 7000 is Jason, back on the ground. Jason, tell us more. Where did this madcap idea come from?
Michael, hello, and thanks for having me on your show. It started about 2.5 years ago, and I got involved with the Red Panda Network. And it was really to help them to raise funds and also awareness of the plight of the red panda. They've actually lost half of their population in Nepal within 20 years. And they reckon, or there's estimated there's only 2,500 left in the wild. They're actually on the IUCN endangered list. So I thought I would have a look at how best I could try and support the Red Panda Network, and I decided to come up with the harebrained idea to stand on top of the wing of a 1940s Boeing Stearman.
And it wasn't good enough for you to just jump out like other people with the parachute. You decided you actually wanted to stand on top of the wing. When did you initially plan to do this?
So initially we had planned to do it in 2020. We had hoped to do it between the Bray and Burr Air Show. The team were due to come over for both displays, and we had it all penciled in, and obviously everything was looking good at the beginning of last year. But unfortunately, the global pandemic put everything, and as we all know, all our lives on hold. So we had to delay it by a year, and unfortunately wasn't able to do it in Ireland this year. So I flew out last week to Bristol and to their home base at RFC Renkham, down in the lovely, beautiful setting of Cotswolds area. It was absolutely beautiful down there.
Now, that should have all been well. You should have been ready to go. And then there was an unfortunate mishap with one of their airplanes.
Absolutely. Prior to myself getting ready to go out there, we only had about 5 days left. And as we all know, one of the wing-walking aircraft suffered an engine failure, we believe, and the pilot had to ditch the aircraft into Poole Harbour. Both wing walker and pilot had minor injuries. And I am happy to say that that very pilot was David Barrell, and it was in fact actually David Barrell who did actually fly me on the wing walk 5 days later.
Fantastic. You're working on the principle that lightning doesn't strike twice, I take it.
Absolutely.
What went through your mind thinking about that? Because, I mean, like, as it is, it would be a nerve-wracking experience, but to do it so close to a little upset like that.
Yes. Well, I mean, initially I had to pause all the social media platforms that we were using to promote it, because I was unsure what the plan was going to be until I heard from the team. Me personally, I had already in my head that if it was going to go ahead, I would still definitely do it. A lot of my friends and family were concerned, and I said, well, you know, we hear about car crashes every day, but we don't stop jumping in our car.
Mm-hmm.
So
you
was
were in
kind
very
of
good hands, and it went very well. I suppose
Absolutely.
If I was to ask you in a sentence to sum up the sensation of being inverted on a Stearman standing on the wing, what would you say?
Listen, one word: wow. It is spectacular. Unfortunately, the day I was meant to do it, it was called off from the weather, so it was delayed by 24 hours. So that actually did add to my anxiety at the time. But it was such an incredible experience, and it's very hard to try and portray to people what it actually felt like. We actually had to climb up to over 3,000 feet into the clouds because it was a pretty cloudy day. And Dave did spend an extra 5 minutes, so I had longer than most people would up there, trying to find a good spot for us to start our aerobatic section of the flight. And after about 15 minutes, we did find another little patch to dive down into, complete a loop, 2 stall turns, a Cuban 8, and as we approached the airfield, into a barrel roll as well. So it was pretty spectacular.
How long did it take you to come back down to earth?
Afterwards, I'm still buzzing now. In fact, actually, I've got a 2-minute clip now, which is on YouTube. And today, I actually just got back from the UK today. I attended the Duxford Air Show yesterday. So I've kind of started a break in the UK with aviation and ended it with aviation. But just watching the clip back on a larger screen, I actually got goosebumps watching it back, I have to say. I'm thinking, no, that definitely wasn't me.
And finally, Jason, you want to thank a few sponsors, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Firstly, I have to thank Shay Pardy of Millennium Promotions. He was title sponsor for it, so he helped to fund the flight itself, get the logos onto merchandise as well. So his sponsorship was just absolutely awesome, and if it wasn't for his support, it wouldn't have been able to take place. But I also must thank Chris Shields of Executive Helicopters, who came in with additional sponsorship as well. So I need to thank both of them for their very kind, generous support.
And all in a very good cause. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. And in fact, talking to the guys, they would like to come over next year. And they said if they do, they will take me up again, so that family and friends here in Ireland can see it live.
We might strap a microphone to you as well, and you can bring us back a report from the top of a Stearman.
Well, it might be very difficult because that's one thing, is very hard to breathe and concentrate at the same time. But it certainly would be an interesting conversation to have.
Jason, congratulations to you. Well done. Any idea yet how much you've managed to raise?
Yeah, so far today, online is over 2,500, and offline I've got 920 to add to that. I'm keeping the page over for a few weeks more, just to do a bit more promotion on it. So hopefully we can raise some more money. But even so far, that is an incredible amount. And I have to thank everyone who has sponsored and donated so far. It's just a great achievement.
Well, we'll put a link to your page on the bottom of this podcast as well. Jason Phelan, thanks for joining us on Squawk 7000.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks for having me on your show.
Dublin Aerospace celebrated its 12th birthday this week. The Dublin-based maintenance company started with a team of just 18. Today, they employ over 300 staff at their base maintenance and APU facility at Dublin Airport, 75 staff at their landing gear facility in Ashbourne, and over 50 staff at Exeter Aerospace in the UK.
Thanks, Mark. You can find these stories and more on flyinginireland.com. And a reminder that you can listen to our long final editions. In this week's episode, we talk with pilot Neil Murphy about his father, Captain Mike Murphy, who died in 2019, and Neil's plans to run the London Marathon dressed as an aeroplane. You'll find it wherever you get your podcasts and on our site, squawk7000.ie. Thanks for listening.
To get the news first, subscribe now to Squawk 7000 on your favourite podcast platform.